Hello and welcome to another edition of IMO Bastani with me, Aaron Bastani. You can get in touch with me on Twitter at Aaron Bastani. You can get in touch with Novara Media on Twitter at Novara Media. You can comment on, like and share this content under the hashtag IMO Bastani. Thanks for watching. On this surprise last minute edition of IMO Bastani, we contrived it this morning just as I was about to leave the house and get on a plane to South Europe. We said we had to talk about hashtag Labour Purge. We had no choice. We had to. It's such an important story. What is it? Well, it seems that between several hundred and several thousand new members, supporters, affiliate members of the Labour Party are being disqualified, disbarred from voting in forthcoming leadership elections. The claim is that is political, that they are not being allowed to participate in the process because they intended to vote or have already voted for Jeremy Corbyn. It's alleged that this operation at Labour HQ is called Operation Ice Pick, seemingly in reference to the implement which killed Leon Trotsky 75 years ago this week. It was an ice pick by his gardener. That would seem to be a reference, therefore, by Labour Party staffers to the idea, the belief that this is mass entryism, that they're trying to get rid of entryists. So, yes, there seems to be some kind of political intention in terms of why they're disqualifying large numbers, between several hundred and several thousand people from this process, so it's not entirely clear why. Yesterday, Andrew McKinley, former Labour MP for Thurrock, went on record to say that had any other candidate been in the lead, be it Liz Kendall, Yvette Cooper or Andy Burnham, this wouldn't be happening, even if the same kinds of dynamics were underway, even if we had hundreds of thousands of new members, supporters registering for the party, claims of entryism. He said it's only because that Corbyn's in the lead that this process is being undertaken. And yet, despite the fact that what looks like a couple of thousand people are being expelled from the party or not being allowed to be members or supporters or affiliate members, not being allowed to vote for the next leader. Despite that, I think it's pretty safe to say that Corbyn's on for a landslide win. I mean, he's got the most CLPs, that's members, right? That's not new people, that's constituency Labour parties, got over 150. I think Liz Kendall's got 18, right? He's filling out venues across the country, several hundred people outside in Nottingham yesterday who couldn't even get in the venue. He's packing out venues every night. These are Labour Party members of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, right? These are not people on Twitter. This is a mass movement, and expelling several hundred to several thousand people, mostly active online, mostly newer members and supporters, probably isn't going to cut it. He's clearly going to win by a pretty big margin. A new electoral system which was implemented after 2010, really backed by the Blairites, brought about primarily to undermine the power of the unions, read the union leaderships, has, it seems, led to, quite possibly, we can't, cross your fingers, touch wood, but it seems like the most left-leaning candidate is going to win off the back of a system which was intended to stop that from happening altogether. But I don't just think this is a sort of politically malicious, haphazard, cack-handed attempt to undermine the Corbyn surge. I don't think it is just that. It could be that. That could be a nice after effect for those who are expediting it, people like Ian McNicol in the Labour Party, senior elements of the Labour bureaucracy. I think the main reason for it is because they don't want a legal challenge after the winner is announced, right? Yesterday, Michael Duggar, the campaign director for Andy Burnham, sent a letter to McNicol trying to highlight issues of entryism, undermining the electoral process, its legitimacy, its validity. I think if Corbyn were to win, but not by a huge majority, which might be possible if, a couple of thousand people are being disqualified, disbarred, might be possible, I think he will, but maybe not, then there'll be a legal challenge, right? If it is close and Burnham comes second, I think there will be a legal challenge. I think that would be ridiculous. It would be incredibly toxic and damaging for the Labour Party. It would put them in a tailspin for a year or two. I think it would really knock them for 6. They would lose a lot of momentum and new members that have previously joined. Where does the left go after that? It could be an existential threat for the Labour Party, or a legal threat to come good and dethrone Corbyn. I think that would be hugely damaging for the Labour Party. I think you would have to be talking about union disaffiliation, an exodus of members who've not just joined, but the people that have been joining since 2010 and before then too. But actually what's most interesting for me here is that we've got a massive culture clash. I think Steve Bush in The New Statesman talks about this today on Friday. A massive culture clash, not between the left and the right, but between those who want Labour to be what it's been hitherto, very identifiable membership organisation, and those who want to be more open, more amorphous, right? That's not just a registered supporters thing for a new leader. That might include open or closed primaries of some kind for candidate selection for Parliament. And the people that want to make Labour more open, more permeable, are the ones that recognise that the days of mass membership organisations are in the past. There is a secular crisis of political parties. They do seem to be in eternal decline. I've talked about it so many times before, you know, the Conservative Party, less than 100,000 members in the 1950s, 3 million. What seems to have happened in the last couple of years, 1-2 years, SNP, the Greens and now Labour, are rocketing in terms of membership because they're offering something a little bit different, something more open, something which is attached to a social movement. And that's not just building a kind of ideological momentum, but also it's allowing for a certain kind of flexibility. People are engaging in what Adam Ramsey's referred to as political polyamory, right? So, you know, they'll vote Green in one general election and then they'll register as a Labour supporter for the Labour leadership election because they think actually the values which underline both actions are the same. Those kinds of people are being welcomed with really open arms by the kinds of people that want Labour to be a mass membership but also a mass movement organisation, permeable, open, and they're being castigated, told to go away, dismissed by people that want to keep Labour a closed organisation. Like I say, this is not an ideological thing of left and right, but about open and closed. And if you want Labour to be closed, I think you can say goodbye to forming a government in this country ever again. Almost by accident, Labour have made themselves the most relevant party in British politics. They are seeing numbers join them which are unseen in half a century. And I think it is actually by accident, and they have a historic opportunity here to take it. If Corbyn wins, I think he will win. That's the most likely thing, even with a legal challenge. Even that's unlikely, but even with a legal challenge, I think he'd still win. He's going to win really big, I think. Corbyn victory, is it likely they'll be the biggest party in Parliament in 2020? Very unlikely. That's why they need to work with the SNP. Even then, they would need to do astonishingly well. Turnout would need to go up 5, 6, 7%. How's that going to happen? They're going to need to keep this momentum, right? They're going to need to keep growing. They're going to need to keep those 600,000 people registered to vote for the next leader out there, you know, doing voter registration, get the votes out. If that doesn't happen, they can kiss goodbye to any realistic chance of beating the Tories, and that's what's up for grabs here. This momentum from Corbyn has to be aligned to a more permeable, networked, open idea of what the Labour Party and politics more generally is. If they're not up for pluralism under Corbyn, I think he won't go much further than Ed Miliband, and that's not because of him, but because of where politics in the 21st century it's at. It's got to be open, it's got to be generous, it's got to be pluralistic, and if you're not in that game, you're a loser. So what do you think? You know what I think? I think that Labour, once Corbyn wins, hopefully he will win, will continue on the path to remain an open assemblage rather than just a closed political party. I think if it doesn't do that, it's not going to ever vie for government anytime soon. Why don't you put those thoughts down on the hashtag, IMO Bastani, tweet out at me, at Aaron Bastani, tweet at Novara Media, at Novara Media, comment on YouTube and on Facebook. Weather is fantastic, isn't it? Well, hopefully I'll be taking it with me to South Europe. I hope it stays here too. I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.